welcome to Mysterious Goings On. I am Alex Greenwood, your host. Been a long time since we rock and rolled, but I'm back to check in with you a little bit. Dutiful listener. Geez, I'm not even going to look back to see when we last spoke. It's been a while, I know that. I've had some interesting times going on here. The old expression, may you live in interesting times, which actually is, I think, a curse, but I've certainly, in that way, been cursed, I guess, when you look back at what's been going on with me lately. So it was before the holidays, probably, that we last had a time together here on this podcast, Mysterious Goings On, and I guess to kind of bring it all forward for you, to kind of get you caught up to where I am, right around late September into October, I developed an illness. It was an infection. It was internal, wasn't pleasant, not necessarily life-threatening or anything, but it did require some pretty heavy antibiotics. And, well, long story short, those antibiotics set off a chain of events that sent me to the hospital, and probably, while it cured the infection eventually, probably upset my body's microbiome or ecology or whatever hot catchphrase you want to use. It really upset everything in my body, threw it off kilter, and I've been, since October, basically, November really got really bad, been dealing with the effects of the medication since. Ben was extremely weak, extremely ill, had difficulty eating things I enjoyed, developed angioedema, which is a swelling under the skin. It's not pleasant. Anyway, a lot of stuff, not pleasant, not fun. The good news is that I've been working with some good doctors to get me right, get my body ecology back to normal, and I'm starting to see, or I'm more and more seeing as I'm doing this, an improvement and getting back to my old self where I have energy again, and I'm not, in pain, and I'm not having anxiety about what's next. Am I going to have to go to the hospital again or something like that? Now, please understand, aside from one trip to the hospital, which still was not life-threatening, at least to that point, I'm fine, and I was fine. But it's one of those things that really throws you when it happens to you. You're just kind of, bumbling along, minding your own business, and you get an infection of some sort, and then the cure for the infection just throws you into a, kind of a weird vortex of spiraling illness and things that kind of, leapfrogged over each other and just got worse and worse and worse. So it also had the effect on me where I just didn't want to do anything for a while. I didn't want to write. I didn't want to work. And I probably, the most fair thing to say is not wanting to was simply because I couldn't concentrate. I didn't feel well. And so it was quite a ordeal. And in all that time, I was struggling to get Pilate's Rose, the 6th book in the John Pilate series, birthed or passed like a stone through my system, since we're being all medical here. And good news is, and hopefully you're a listener because you like to read the stuff, you've got it already, but Pilate's Rose is out there. It's doing all right. It's an Amazon-only paperback and an Amazon-only ebook. I've had some nice reviews and some good comments from folks who've read it. Some folks have been rather quiet, and that's okay. It's not your typical John Pilate adventure by some metrics, so I understand that. But anyway, I was really pleased to get that book out because it's a year and a half late, and that's the first thing. And every day that went by that I just didn't finish it or couldn't figure it out, it just frankly depressed me and made me feel terrible about it. And I felt like I was letting the readers down, but I also felt like I was letting the characters down and myself, because I had some fairly grandiose plans for this book when I started a couple of years ago on it. And just, I think, a general burnout's too strong a word, but maybe just a general saturation on my part with this series probably played a part in me developing writer's block, I guess, which I don't really believe in, really. I think if you want to write, you'll write, but I certainly had a hard time getting motivated to do it. So there was that, and then not feeling well. So I have to give some kudos to my good friend Jason McIntyre, the author and talented cover illustrator, by the way, because besides being encouraging, J-Mac, as I call him, Jason edited this book, gave me some fantastic ideas on it, and kind of gave me permission just to let the story tell itself, and gave me permission to say to myself, I don't have to do all these grandiose ideas. This can be a more simple story that kind of gets people back into the world of John Pilate, and just let's see where it goes, and let's maybe not try to, win like a national book prize with it. Let's just try to have a fun story. So my former editor, Robert, who couldn't work on this book, had given me a nice idea a while back when I was kind of struggling with it way before Jason started helping me. And he gave me an idea that became a lot of the basis for the plot of this particular book. And so I want to thank my buddy Robert Hayes, who maybe someday we'll work together again. He had some life circumstances where he couldn't work on this last book, but he had done a really nice job on Pilate's Blood, and but he had a really good idea about this one. And then Jason took it and ran with it as the editor this time, and really helped me immensely with this one. And he did a hell of a cover. It's Pilate's Rose, and what you have on the cover is a bloom, but it's an explosion. It's a bloom of an explosion on the water, which gives you a good hint of what's going on with this book. So big thanks to Robert initially there, but Jason for coming in and really just doing a great job and getting me kind of back up on my sea legs in the midst of all this physical misery, and helping me get the book out. So if you, again, want to get Pilate's Rose, it's on Amazon.com, paperback or ebook. If you're interested in a autographed version, just go to pilatescross.com. That's pilatescross.com, and make an order like my good friend Ed did. My buddy Eddie, he bought one through there the other day, and who wanted it autographed, and I shipped it off to him. We do a nice little bit of business through the Pilate's Cross page, and simply what that means is I have a supply of those books here, and I can autograph them for you, or for a birthday gift or a Christmas gift or whatever for a family member. You just tell me what you want written on there, and I'll write it and I'll sign it. Sound good? All right. And this book is not going to break the bank. It's I believe it's $8.99 in paperback and a couple of $3 ebook. So it's definitely something that you could trade in a couple of lattes per week for a week on, and still have a great or an entertaining book at least to read. So, what else am I on to? Well, now that Pilate's Rose is out and in the world, I'm looking away from Rose because I've got some other things going on in my life. The family is going to make a big move soon. We are going to not leave Kansas City where we are now, but we're going to go to another part of town. We're looking for maybe a newer house in a different school district, that kind of thing. So right now we've been really consumed, besides the day jobs, with cleaning and packing and moving and getting things together. The house isn't on the market yet, but it will be probably by first week of May, and that's really necessitated that we get one of those big pods and we fill it up with a lot of crap, because realtors want to show your house, they want to stage it, and the thing that realtors do to effectively show your house so they can sell it is make it look like you don't really live there. So we took about a third of our possessions and crammed them into a giant pod, which is just wow. This thing, they drop it off basically to your door, you fill it up, they come back, and they have this thing that looks like an H.G. Wells Martian, comes down, picks it up, puts it on the back of a truck, takes it away, spirits it away somewhere. And I was joking to my wife, I was like, I hope that he remembers to just dump that off a cliff somewhere, because that way we don't have to have that stuff back. But there's a lot of good stuff in there, so that's not what the case is. But it's a good reminder to me, though, that I am a pack rat, and I keep far too many things, and a lot of it are books, and I won't get rid of books, really, mostly. I got rid of a few, I donated a few, but basically my books stay with me. But there was a lot of other stuff, a lot of paperwork that we had shredded, and there was a lot of other junk. Clothing, oh my God, way too many clothes, just silly stuff like that is a good reminder about. But we've donated a lot to the local disabled American veterans and other organizations. Good stuff too. Wasn't just, oh, here's some junk for you. It's like, this is some good quality stuff. So we were pleased that we could give it to the disabled American vets and a couple other organizations here in town. So I encourage you to do the same, even if you're not moving. But anyway, so we're working on that. In the midst of all this packing and unpacking and moving, I'd found it previously, but I found some stuff that reminded me even further of it. I found a box of my late grandfather. He was a writer. He wrote a lot of westerns and stuff like that. I found a bunch of his writing that I'd got when he passed away. It was some wonderful poetry, believe it or not, but also some essays and some short stories and some other stuff that's just a treasure trove for me. But it reminded me that I am working on a full manuscript that he had left me, that it was unpublished. He'd published over 30 books in his career, and this was one he had written in the early to mid-90s, and it just didn't go anywhere. And he passed away around 2002. But anyway, he had this about 10-year-old manuscript at the time that he had left me and said, do what you want with it. He probably joked about, you can use it to start a fire or something. And I found it, and it's called Big Cabin by Robert E. Trevathan. And it's unpublished, and it's just a paper manuscript. There's no disc or anything. He didn't have a computer. So this is all being transcribed into a Word document, and I'm going to polish it up and edit it a little bit here and there, but not change much, because whether or not contemporary people reading Westerns today or not want this or want this style, that's not really what I'm writing this for or doing with this. What I'm doing is I've just thought it would be great, considering he's been gone now for a little while, and I think about him just about every day. It'd just be nice to maybe get his first ebook out there, So Big Cabin, which is a very, if I say so myself, because he was an historian as well as a writer, but I think it's a very historically accurate look at the Katy Railroad and that part of northern Oklahoma and southern Kansas, northeastern corner of Oklahoma, southeastern corner of Kansas, the town of Big Cabin. So it's a lot of intrigue about the railroad, and there's a mix of real life people in there, and it's done in his style. And so I don't view me pulling it out of an old box, blowing the dust off of it, is my invitation to turn it into John Pilate in the Old West, or try to do a revisionist Quentin Tarantino kind of thing with it, and fill it full of blood and gore and violence and swearing. I'm not going to do that. Nothing against Quentin Tarantino. I like a lot of his stuff, but I'm just going to get it out and polish it up a little bit. There's some stuff I've got to tweak here and there, and then I'm going to put it out. It'll be on Caroline Street Press, publisher of the John Pilate mysteries, as well as a few other books. I would tell you a date, but then I would probably be lying to you, because I don't know exactly when I'll get it done, particularly with all this hullabaloo with moving and the day job. I mean, the day job continues whether you're moving or not. Clients don't really care. They're like, oh, that's nice, great. What are you doing for me? And that's fine, because that's what they pay me for. So I've got that to do, and family stuff and life, and just trying to get my health back and all that. So I'll tell you this, I'd love to get it out by end of May or into June. May not happen. Be pleasantly surprised if you're interested in that, if you hear that it's done by then. I know I will be. Definitely shooting for that no later than mid to late summer, I would say, to get Big Cabin by Robert E. Trevathan out there. Just kind of watch this space, or listen to this space, or go to pilatescross.com or the John Pilate Mysteries Facebook page for updates on that. We'll see what happens. I'm going to not only have Big Cabin, I think I'm going to tuck in a few little at the end of the book, the end, and then there'll be an afterword, and then there might be some other of his writing I might squeeze in there if it's appropriate. Or if it's inappropriate. He wouldn't care. He'd love it. He'd be thrilled. So this will be his first, and for now, only ebook, and in a way, it's the only book he and I ever wrote together. He's obviously written 99% of it, but I'm going to put my hand into it a little bit, and do some stuff and edit it. So in a way, it's like I finally got the privilege of working on a book with my grandpa. So keep an eye out for that if you would. So let's see here. Alex was sick. Alex got Pilate's Rose out the door with a lot of help from his friends. And Alex's grandpa's book is on the way soon. Okay. Those seem to be the main things. Oh, there is one more thing. And this is, I think I'm jinxing myself by bringing it up, but I am shooting to do this year by Christmas. I know I promised Pilate's Rose by Christmas, but this is a little different. I am looking at doing probably a 2-volume omnibus edition, because we are at book 6 of the John Pilate mystery series, which I've told before, and most people probably don't care to remember or don't remember, that I thought there'd be about 12 entries into this particular series. So we're halfway through, so I'm going to create a 2-volume omnibus paperback edition. And it will be the cleanest, latest, most corrected, typo-free versions of all 6 of the books, plus maybe a little surprise short story that'll go with it, kind of catching you up on where John Pilate is at that point. And I'd love to get it out by December 1 so people can order it for Christmas. And that's in the works. That's being planned. I've already discussed the cover. I mean, again, the good thing about this is the books are already written. And the short story, I've got a good idea where that will go. But the books are already written. It's just the labor of taking the book manuscripts, making sure they're cleaned up, and put together into 2 volumes. I mean, there's some actual work that goes into taking these manuscripts and making them into, paperback volumes. You have to reformat 6 books, which is about it'll be under 500,000 words, that's for sure. I haven't done that many words, but it'll be around 400 something thousand words, and getting it all formatted nicely. And I believe that will take 2 books. If it were hardback, I could say I could probably put it all in one big doorstop edition, but we're not doing a hardback edition. We're just doing this paperback edition, so I think it'll be 2 pretty hefty paperbacks. So your first paperback, or your first volume, would of course be Pilate's Cross, then Pilate's Key, and Pilate's Ghost. Second volume would be Pilate's Blood, Pilate's 7, and then Pilate's Rose, and then Pilate's ? Whatever the short story ends up being for that. And I think that'd be a nice Christmas gift. And like if you're enjoying these, and maybe you've never bought the books, you just read the ebooks, perhaps you'd like to have them. And what's great about this is you'll have something unusual in the sense that I know this, the special story, the short story, there's no immediate plans to publish it anywhere else, and definitely, not as an ebook short story or anything. Then I reserve the right to do that down the road, but for several months at least, this will be the definitive latest versions of all the books with the short story, and then a updated afterward author's note. And it will not be an ebook. It will just be these 2 volumes in paperback that'll be put together. Again, reserve the right to maybe down the road do something else, but the whole point of this really is I don't have any plans to do it as an ebook. I just want to make this available as a 2-volume paperback. And it's for the hardcore Pilate fan, obviously, and for all 3 of you. But I'd like to do it. I'd like to have it, and I'm excited about the idea of really putting all these books into a couple of volumes and a brand new cover that kind of is an overarching cover for the whole series to date. I think will be fun, and I'm already talking to Jason McIntyre about that. So I'm pretty excited about that. All I'll tell you right now is, barring, here, knock on wood, more illness or work gets crazy, whatever, life gets in the way, but barring all those things, it should be ready, and I'll let you know about that. Well, this has been a very one-sided conversation. It's just been me talking at you about me, and I applaud you for getting this far into it without turning it off. I'd love to hear from you. I'd love to know how you're doing. I'd love to know if you bought Pilate's Rose, what you thought of it, if you feel like posting a review on Amazon. And if you haven't read it yet, go to Amazon.com and download the ebook or order the paperback. Or, as I said before, pilatescross.com and just make an order with me, and I will send you an autographed copy or send it to your designated giftee. Sound good? Yeah. All right. You can find me on the Twitter at @A_Greenwood. You can also find me, as I said, on Facebook. And I very much appreciate you listening to this little update. And I look forward to doing more podcasting, by the way, in the future, looking at getting some of the old friends back on the show this year, but also want to get some new interviews going. you're definitely going to hear from Jason McIntyre. I'd love to get my old friend Zuf back on and talk Star Trek with him again. I'd like to get some other folks on the show too. And if you know of someone, another writer or another creative person who would benefit from having a conversation with me, let me know. Just get on me on the Facebook page. All right? And while I'm at it, here I am, hat in hand. If you like this podcast, please give a review on Apple Podcasts saying how much you like this podcast and how much you recommend it. I'd sure appreciate it. Until next time, and that will be sooner than later, I'm okay. I hope you're okay. And until we speak again, keep reading.
It's hosting season. And this hosting season, you can enter eligible New York Lottery draw game tickets with Collect and Win for a chance to win a $5,000 gift card to use at the Home Depot. So, enter today and make one of the most stressful times of the year a little easier.
The Home Depot is not a sponsor of this promotion. You must be 18 years or older to purchase a lottery ticket. You must be 21 or older to purchase a quick draw ticket where alcoholic beverages are served. Please play responsibly. Enter by 1-7-20.
It's hosting season. And this hosting season, you can enter eligible New York Lottery draw game tickets with Collect and Win for a chance to win a $5,000 gift card to use at the Home Depot. So, enter today and make one of the most stressful times of the year a little easier.
The Home Depot is not a sponsor of this promotion. You must be 18 years or older to purchase a lottery ticket. You must be 21 or older to purchase a quick draw ticket where alcoholic beverages are served. Please play responsibly. Enter by 1-7-20.